then we have the Nordic types. The Nordic types have told us that they're from all different types of star systems, and there is more than one Nordic type. But what we found out recently is that one of these groups, at least, is us from the future. And there are other groups like this Nordic group. There is an African-looking group. There is a Polynesian-looking group. I think we're going to find very few of these extraterrestrials are Caucasian or blonde-haired, blue-eyed, like a lot of people depict. Many of our cosmic cousins from the local 52 star cluster are people of color. And when we get to a point to our cosmic cousins actually visiting and integrating with us, we are going to be forced to deal with some of our petty racist programming here on our planet.
Welcome to part 2 of the Science of Creation series, according to Carbon Organic Cosmology. The objective of these webisodes introducing the concept of the nature of nature is to assist carbon organic tribes, families, and clans, and wider humanity in the moving toward standards, values, and qualities that grow better and higher toward perfection in space, matter, and time by law and order, and also ascending reason. Within our first webisode entitled The Science of Creation According to Carbon Organic Cosmology, we mentioned a multitude of various beings throughout the universe residing in various galaxies. This we will explore in much further detail in later webisodes. We also mentioned that the beings responsible for maintaining the universe as universal guardians, whom were also responsible for seeding this planet, are known as the Neteru to carbon organic tribes, families, and clans, or simply put, nature. According to Wikipedia, the adherents of the ancient Tamarian Egyptian culture, whom acknowledge the Neteru as deities, are followers of Kemetism, sometimes referred to as Neterism from Netjer meaning God. Interestingly, the current occupier invaders of hybrid albinos inhabiting Egypt as the ruling class at this present moment do not acknowledge the term Kemet, and it is usually referred to as a term associated with the carbon organic tribes, families, and clans referred to as blacks, whom they detest. Neither do they practice ancient Tamarian principles, which they refer to as Kemetic paganism, which is considered a neo-pagan religion and revival of the ancient Egyptian religion, emerging during the 1970s. There are several main groups, each of which takes a different approach to its beliefs, ranging from eclectic to reconstructionist. These can be divided into 3 types: reconstructed Kemetism, a syncretic approach, and the more monotheistic Kemetic orthodoxy. The movement's name is based on an endonym of Egypt, Kemet. The word is also sometimes written as Tigmet. In translation from Egyptian, it means black. Kemetics refer to the ancient Egyptian deities as the Neteru, also referred to as the Neteru or the Netjer. Kemetics may prefer to refer to the Netjeru with their ancient Egyptian name. For example, they would refer to Horus as Haru, Thoth as Jehudi, and Anubis as Anpu. Some Kemetics or Hermeticists claim direct continuity with secret societies allegedly continuously existing since the prohibition of paganism by Roman Emperor Theodosius I in 392 CE, or since the closing of the last functional Egyptian temple of the goddess Isis on the island of Phulae by Emperor Justinian around 535. However, these claims are historically unprovable to Western academics, as they refuse to acknowledge the cultural continuity found within carbon organic cultures both on the continent and wherever you find carbon organic tribes, families, and clans who have retained aspects of their cultural rites, traditions, and practices. Since the Hellenistic period, ancient Egyptian religion has influenced many belief systems. In contrast, the goal of Kemetic groups is a more or less rigorous restoration of the religious system in its historical form, although Kemetists generally admit that a completely accurate imitation of ancient practices is not always possible or even advisable. Ancient Egyptian religion underwent complex transformations across time and was worshipped differently in different locations. One god could have different mythological associations and forms of worship in individual nomes or even individual temples. It is difficult to seek a purely original form of Egyptian religion that can be easily pointed to and reconstructed. Later reinterpretations of Egyptian religious ideas fundamentally transformed them. For example, some question whether the gods should be strictly worshipped by their Egyptian names or whether they can also be addressed by the Greek versions. This question holds special significance for Kemetics due to the ancient Egyptian idea of the importance of name to existence. It has been questioned whether Hellenistic and Christian reimaginings should be included in Kemetic reconstruction, or whether they should instead be excluded as traditions of antiquity. The answer to this question is one of the fundamental differences between various Kemetic groups. Different interpretations of the ancient Egyptian religion have different understandings of the monotheistic or polytheistic Egyptian pantheon. The ancient Egyptian religion was a polytheistic religion, and Kemetists do not deny this polytheism, but different practitioners may elevate one deity to different levels. In traditionalist practice, each deity is his or her own individual being, although one may be more powerful. Still others may conceptualize the Egyptian pantheon as a single universal divine force manifesting itself in various forms. Regardless of whether the sun is worshipped as a god by a particular Kemetist or not, as in ancient Egypt the sun is considered to be an image of divine power and the source of every existence. The sun is deified as Re, or, during the New Kingdom, Amen Re. Another important principle of Kemeticism is Ma'at, order. This concept was one of the cornerstones of religious thought of the ancient Egyptians. Its observance was supposed to ensure the stability of the world and its orderly running. Its importance is evident from the fact that even the pharaoh, who was understood as a divine being, was primarily tasked with bearing responsibility for and contributing to Ma'at. The epitome of the concept in ancient Egyptian religion was the eponymous goddess Ma'at and her symbol, the ostrich feather. As a result, the respective rules of all kinds by each individual was synonymous with support and maintenance of the cosmic order, while their non-observance could lead to its disruption. The collapse of Ma'at would lead to the demise of the world and the victory of chaos. In pursuit of Ma'at, Kemetic practitioners may follow prevailing ethical ideas and good manners. However, there is no explicitly binding text codifying moral norms. Ancient Egyptian practice venerated Ma'at, a concept encompassing truth and honor. Ritual worship of the gods in pursuit of Ma'at is thus considered holy. Commonly worshipped old Egyptian gods include Re, Ammonius, Isis, and Osiris, Thoth, Sekhmet, Batet, Hathor, and others. This worship generally takes the form of prayer, offerings, and setting up altars. Altars are most often constructed using a statue or two-dimensional representation of one or more given deities, as they serve as the focal point of reverence. Most commonly, Kemetism understands the representation symbolically, understanding it as a means to better focus on the divine power. Additional altar items include candles, votive offerings, prayer beads, incense burners, and one or more dishes for food offerings. Most Kemetic offerings try to keep to tradition, offering the same or similar items the ancient Egyptians would have offered. According to the Egyptian scholar Mustafa Gadala, the Neteru represent the divine energies, which is also found within the teachings of the Holy Coptic Church under the auspices of Haru-Hotep Tar. Every Egyptian creation text begins with the same basic belief, that before the beginning of things, there was a liquidy primeval abyss, everywhere, endless, and without boundaries or directions. Egyptians called this cosmic ocean/watery chaos Nu/Niam-Anun, the unpolarized state of matter. Water is formless, and of itself it does not take on any shape, nor does it resist being shaped. Scientists agree with the ancient Egyptian description of the origin of the universe as being an abyss. Scientists refer to this abyss as a neutron soup, where there are neither electrons nor protons, only neutrons forming one huge, extremely dense nucleus. Remember this point, as it will tie in with our later explanation of brain newts within this body of work. Such chaos, in the pre-creation state, was caused by the compression of matter, i.e. atoms did not exist in their normal states, but were squeezed so closely together that many atomic nuclei were crowded into a space previously occupied by a single normal atom. Under such conditions, the electrons of these atoms were squeezed out of their orbits and moved about freely, i.e. in a chaotic, degenerate state. Nu/Niam-Anun is the subjective being, the symbol of the unformed, undefined, undifferentiated energy/matter, inert or inactive, the uncreated state before the creation. It cannot be the cause of its transformation. The term infinite, of course, is synonymous with not finite, undefined, unlimited, unshaped, undifferentiated, and so on. This means that the energy/matter out of which all things are formed must be, in its essential state, unformed, undefined, undifferentiated, etc. If the material basis of the world had any essential definitions, formations, these would act as limiting factors to its ability to be transformed infinitely. Its essential lack of definition is an absolute requirement for God's creative omnipotence. The condensed energy in the pre-creation neutron soup was continuously building up. This condensed energy reached the optimum concentration of build-up energy that led to its explosion and expansion outwardly billions of years ago. The loud sound of this explosion is what caused the breakup of the constituent parts of the universe. The ancient Egyptian texts likewise repeatedly stressed that the divine commanding voice, meaning the divine sound, was the cause of creation. Adam is neither female nor male, but both. Adam is the totality of the orderly energy matrix during the creation stage, while Nun is the disorderly energy compound, the subjective being. The total divine energy within the universe is called Nun in its chaotic state and Adam in its orderly creation and its point of state/process. Adam represents the release, in an orderly sequence, of the existing energy within Nun, i.e. bringing it to life. This represents the objective being. Nun and Adam are images of each other, like the numbers 0 and 1. 0 is nothing, nil, and 1 means the all. Creation is the sorting out, giving definition to bringing order to all the chaos, the undifferentiated energy/matter and consciousness of the primeval state. All of the ancient Egyptian accounts of creation exhibited this with well-defined, clearly demarcated stages. The seed of creation out of which everything originated is Adam. And, just as the plant is contained within the seed, so everything that is created in the universe is Adam, too. Adam, the one who is the all, as the master of the universe, declares, in the ancient Egyptian papyrus commonly known as the Bremerine Papyrus, when I manifested myself into existence, existence existed. I came into existence in the form of the existent, which came into existence in the first time. Coming into existence according to the mode of existence of the existent, I therefore existed. And it was thus that the existent came into existence. In other words, when the master of the universe came into existence, the whole of creation came into existence, because the complete one contains the all. The cycle of creation is caused and maintained by divine forces or energies. These energies, like the perpetual cycle of creation, go through a process of transformation from birth, life, aging, dying, death to rebirth. We, as human beings, have similar life forces that change throughout our lifetime. Our human bodies consist of numerous cycles that govern our life existence. All forces die out when we die. The Egyptians called these divine forces Neteru. The main theme of the universe is its cyclical nature. The Neteru are the forces of nature, which make the world go around, so to speak. To simply call them gods and goddesses gives a false impression. The divine energy that manifests itself in the creation cycle is defined by its constituent energy aspects, which were called Neteru by the ancient Egyptians. In order for creation to exist and to be maintained, this divine energy must be thought of in terms of male and female principles. Therefore, ancient Egyptians expressed the cosmic energy forces in the terms of Neter, female principle, and Neter, male principle. The Egyptian word Neter, or nature or netjer, means a power that is able to generate life and to maintain it when generated. As all parts of creation go through the cycle of birth, life, death, rebirth, so do the driving energies during the stages of this cycle. It is therefore that the ancient Egyptian Neteru, being divine energies, went and continue to go through the same cycle of birth, growth, death, and renewal. Such understanding was common to all, as noted by Plutarch, that the multitude forces of nature, known as Neteru, are born or created, subject to continuous changes, age and die, and are reborn. We can give the example of the caterpillar that is born, lives, then builds its own cocoon, where it dies, or better yet, transforms into a butterfly which lays eggs, and on and on. What we have here is the cyclical transformation from one form/state of energy to another. Another example is the water cycle, the water that evaporates, forming clouds that rain back to earth. It is all an orderly cyclical transformation of energies in various forms. When you think of Neteru not as gods and goddesses, but as cosmic energy forces, one can see the ancient Egyptian system as a brilliant representation of the universe. Philosophically, this cyclical, natural transformation is similar to our saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same. In scientific circles, this is known as the natural law of conservation of energy, which is described as the principle that energy is never consumed, but only changes form, and the total energy in a physical system, such as the universe, cannot be increased or diminished. This matrix of energies came as a result of the initial act of creation and the subsequent effects that created the universe. This matrix consists of an organized hierarchy. Each level of the hierarchy of existence is a theophany, a creation by the consciousness of the level of being above it. The self-contemplation by each stage of existence brings into being each lower stage. As such, the hierarchy of energies is interrelated, and each level is sustained by the level below it. This hierarchy of energies is set neatly into a vast matrix of deeply interfaced natural laws. It is both physical and metaphysical. The ancient and Egyptians made no distinction between a metaphysical state of being and one with a material body. Such a distinction is a mental illusion. We exist on a number of different levels at once, from the most physical to the most metaphysical. Einstein agreed with these same principles. Since Einstein's relativity theory, it has been known and accepted that matter is a form of energy, a coagulation or condensation of energy. As a result, the natural law for the conservation of matter or mass similarly states that matter is neither created nor destroyed during any physical or chemical change. Energy is made up of molecules rotating or vibrating at various rates of speed. In the physical world, molecules rotate at a very slow and constant rate of speed. That is why things appear to be solid. To our earthly senses, the slower the speed, the more dense or solid the thing. In the metaphysical, spirit, world, the molecules vibrate at a much faster rate or in an ethereal dimension where things are freer and less dense. In this light, the universe is basically a hierarchy of energies at different orders of density. Our senses have some access to the densest form of energy, which is matter. The hierarchy of energies is interrelated, and each level is sustained by the level below it. This hierarchy of energies is set neatly into a vast matrix of deeply interfaced natural laws. It is both physical and metaphysical. The universal energy matrix encompasses the world as the product of a complex system of relationships among people, living and dead, animals, plants, and natural and supernatural phenomena. This rationale is often called animism because of its central premise that all things are animated, energized, by life forces. Each minute particle of everything is in constant motion, i.e. energized, as acknowledged in kinetic theory. In other words, everything is animated, energized, animals, trees, rocks, birds, even the air, sun, and moon. The faster form of energies, these invisible energies in the universe, are called spirits by many. Spirits/energies are organized at different orders of densities, which relates to the different speeds of molecules. These faster, invisible energies inhabit certain areas or are associated with particular natural phenomena. Spirits, energies, exist in family-type groups, i.e., related to each other. Energies may occupy, at will, a more condensed energy, matter, such as human, animal, plant, or any form. The spirit animates the human body at birth and leaves it at death. Sometimes more than one energy spirit enters a body. We often hear that a person is not feeling himself/herself, or is temporarily insane, possessed, beside himself, or we hear of a person with multiple personalities. The energies, spirits, have an effect on all of us, to one degree or another. The presence of energy in everything was long recognized by the ancient Egyptians. That there are cosmic energies, Neteru, in every stone, mineral, wood, etc., is stated clearly in the Shabaka stele, 8th century BCE, and so the Neteru, gods, goddesses, entered into their bodies, in the form of every sort of wood, of every sort of mineral, as every sort of clay, as everything which grows upon him, meaning earth. The Neteru, gods, goddesses, are the divine energies/powers/forces that, through their actions and interactions, created and maintained, and continue to maintain, the universe. The Neteru, gods, goddesses, and their functions were later acknowledged by others as angels. The Psalm of Moses in Deuteronomy 32:43, as found in a cave at Qumran near the Dead Sea, mentions the word gods in the plural. Rejoice, O heavens, with him, and do obeisance to him, ye gods. When the passage is quoted in the New Testament, Hebrews 1:6, the word gods is substituted with angels of God. The spheres of Neteru, known also as angels and archangels, in Christianity, are hierarchical among the levels/realms of the universe. The system of creation is a system of necessary emanation, precession, or irradiation accompanied by necessary aspiration or reversion to source. All the forms and phases of existence flow from the divinity, and all strive to return thither and to remain there. As a consequence of the Big Bang, the expulsion forces, which cause all galaxies to move outwardly, are being opposed by the gravitational/contractional forces which pull the galaxies together. At the present time, the outwardly forces exceed the contractional forces, and therefore, the limits of the universe are still expanding. Scientists tell us that at a certain point in time in the future, the universe will stop expanding and will start getting smaller. The microwave radiation from the Big Bang fireball, which is still rushing around, will start squashing down and will heat up and change color again until it becomes visible once more. The sky will become red and will then turn orange, yellow, white, and will end in the Big Crunch, i.e., all the matter and all the radiation in the universe will come crashing together into one unit. The Big Crunch is not the end in itself, for the reunited, crunched universe, neutron soup, will have the potential for a new creation, which is called the Big Bounce. So it is not surprising that the ancient Egyptian texts have also described, in their usual Egyptian symbolic terms, the Big Crunch and the Big Bounce. The Egyptian coffin texts, spell 130, tells us that, after the millions of years of differentiated creation, the chaos before creation will return. Only the complete one, atom, and ray will remain, no longer separated in space and time. The original carbon organic tribes, families, and clans as Earth guardians saw that by the utilization of certain raw materials of Earth it allowed for the development of metals, foods, materials, fuels, etc., as well as ways to develop new substances in order to preserve the planet, as this would allow for the production of new materials and ways of improving our lives without over-harvesting Earth's resources, as you see so-called modern or modified man doing today. These carbon organic tribes, families, and clans as planetary guardian beings in their overstanding of the universal principle of absolute law in regards to the science of absolute nature and the manifestation of the universal energies, by way of tone, vibrations, and frequencies. They taught and dealt with the mastery of mental forces instead of just the physical elements. The 99 Neteru were symbolic of the 99 natural elements, principles, and base precepts of Mother Nature which they are responsible for birthing, uncovering, and utilizing. The Neteru are assigned as universal guardians who in their pure energy form appear as light energy or a crystal essence. They can take on any form they wish, thus they could be seen when they choose to personify at will. When the Neteru takes on the physical human form, they appear from olive green to blue-black or dark brown to a dark reddish complexion. The Neteru are about providing for the universe and keeping it in order and maintaining balance. They travel from world to world as teachers and keepers of all the records of events in the universe, is somewhat like the Watcher in Marvel's cinematic universe, which just happens to be a carbon-dominant man, which shows the people in power know these truths as disclose them as spiritual law requires. The Neteru are the parents of the carbon organic families, tribes and clans and various other cultures and predate the Anunnaki as the original seeders of planet Earth. The Neteru descend through the energies/ethers utilizing sound being the very first element, ingredient and component which produced creation, which comes out of existence, as before you can create there must be a place of existence to create within first. This sound is on which through time and age, due to varying tongues and dialects of humanity, became Ion, Ayin, Om, and Aum. We will explore the sound of creation in webisodes to come. We hope you enjoyed this webisode, and we ask that you hit subscribe and the notifications button to keep posted about next video's release. Peace, and remember, you are the light.
Huge cigar-shaped ship appeared over the Air Force Base. These cigar-shaped ships were over a mile in length. One of them landed on the airport landing strip area. When it touched the ground, it created an earthquake like about a 3.5 to 4.0. It terrified everybody in the area. The back of this craft opened up, and several hundred young men with huge, heavy weapons came out of two sides of the ship and formed a protection line around the ship. And the people at that Air Force base, the commander, had a meeting with the individuals that were aboard this ship. And this particular race that landed those ships and that are seen in these huge cigar-shaped ships, they are a black race. They look like African Americans. They were about 6'4", 6'5". These tight-fitting black leather outfits on, and the weapons that they came out of the ships with, they were huge weapons. And if you've ever seen a race of people that were conquerors, that had never been conquered, they've got this look about them of arrogance. That is exactly what these extraterrestrials had, and they informed these people at this American Air Force base that not only were they from a militaristic society, but they had controlled a large portion of the galaxy that we live in. And this was the statement that Ronald Reagan was making to the United Nations when he said that if all the countries on the planet realized that there was a threat from outer space and from an alien civilization, we would all come together. But he was not allowed to make this statement. What I tell you is true, and the gentleman that you had on before, tell him to look up.
Events began.